Y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Taryn, and this is Life as Taryn J. So by the title down below, y'all already know what we're gonna be talking about. How me and hubby found out that I was pregnant, baby number 2. Okay, so I'm really just gonna jump right into it. If you have been following me for a while, then you know, like, at first we were kind of trying to get pregnant, and then we decided to just pretty much leave it all in the hands of God. And yeah, like, we were trying, but we weren't trying, if that makes sense, at this particular point when I eventually got pregnant. Because we were like kind of trying for like a year. I want to say about a year, and nothing was happening. But if y'all want to know like what steps we took to get pregnant, and like, you know, what vitamins, what, just the whole process before we actually did get pregnant, leave a comment down below, let me know. Like I was saying, we had kind of like stopped trying. So previously to this, y'all, I was doing the ovulation strips. I was, you know, tracking my ovulation, because even though, you know, you might have the app, the Flow app or whatever, you know, period trackers, that's not necessarily, like, it's a prediction that the app gives you. So that's not necessarily when you're ovulating. Like, you need to actually like legit test your body to see if you're ovulating. Like, you cannot rely on the app, especially if you've never done like an ovulation test or anything like that. The app is great, but it's a prediction. It goes off of, you know, your period, how long your period was, and an estimating of how you possibly, like, when you possibly could have ovulated. So it's not spot on, but that's for another time, another video. This is how we found out, and it's actually, like, to me a little divine, because it reminds me of how I found out I was pregnant with Bailey, which, you know, my firstborn. I love her. What happened? Let's see. So basically, it was me, my husband, myself, and Bailey. We were going to go see the movie Creed 3. And if y'all know anything about my husband, y'all, he loves boxing. You know, he boxes. That's his thing. Like, so the movie, we were gonna go see that movie. Okay, he really wanted to go see that movie. Me, I'm like, all right, go see the movie. Like, you know, it's cool, whatever. I don't mind it. I've seen the first movie. I've seen bits and pieces of the second movie. I guess I wasn't paying attention, and, you know, he want to go see the movie, let's go see the movie. I don't have issue with that. So we're, as a family, gonna go see this movie, and I know that I just had my period. I know that, you know, I had already ovulated at this particular point, and I'm kind of like, all right, well, I'm gonna test. Like, I was trying not to test, but I was like, I'm gonna test, because if you have been TTCing, trying to conceive, especially for a while, you get in this cycle of, I'm gonna test. I know it's been this amount of days. I know after this amount of days, I could possibly get a positive, I'm gonna test. And I think at this point, I probably was like 9 or 10 DPO. And DPO stands for days past ovulation. So I think at this point, I was kind of like at the end of the 2-week wait, and my expected period date was supposed to be like 3 days before I tested. So I was like, I'm just gonna test right before we go to the movies. Like, we're just gonna see. I don't know. And not thinking anything of it, not thinking, oh yeah, I'm definitely pregnant. Like, that was not my train of thought when I took the test. So I took one of them little cheap tests, the little strips that come in the ovulation kit you can get from pre-mom. So I take the test, and I didn't even look at it, y'all. Didn't even look at it. took the test. Mind you, we went to see the movie at night, so I took it at night. And the movie was like 3 hours or something. It was a long movie. So I took the test, I set it down, and we're like low-key rushing out the door to go to the movies. So, you know, I really didn't look at it. I didn't give it like too much thought, too much concern, because at this point, you know, we kind of, if you know anything about trying to conceive and all of the little, everything that goes with it, you know, you have a certain window to do, you know, to baby dance. And so we really wasn't, like I said, we really wasn't trying. Like, we were trying, but we wasn't trying, you know, kind of thing. So I know we kind of did it after my ovulation date. Like, it was the day after. So I was like, it was positive, it's positive, it's not. Okay, like, because at this point, I'm so close to graduation. Like, we're in the spring semester. I'm almost done. It is what it is. It's in God's hands. So we go to the movies. We watch the movies. We watch the movie Creed 3. We're having a great time. You know, Bailey's actually sitting through the movie, which was very surprising. I think it was because, you know, Creed had a daughter, and they showed, you know, the daughter, and she just was into it. And of course, I was actually into it. It was a really good movie. Really good movie. Surprised me. Just because I'm not into movies like that. Like, not like that, like my husband. Watching the movie, we get home, y'all. And mind you, it's late. It's late. We saw a very late showing. I'm not sure why. I don't remember why. We saw a very late showing. And we get home, it's super late. And mind you, I took one of the cheap strip tests. Yeah, I took a cheap strip test, left it there, and my husband, yeah, he's so used to me taking ovulation strip tests that him just seeing a strip test, he's a man. He's like, oh, it's an ovulation test. No, boo. But anyway, so I go to the bathroom, I'm getting ready for bed, and I glance down at the test because I'm like, oh, you know, I didn't look at it before we left for some reason. I just took it and left. So I look at the test and I'm like, I'm looking at it a little crazy, because I'm like, is that another line? Like, I think that's another line. It looks like another line, y'all. Like, am I tripping? Because after you've taken so many of these pregnancy tests, especially the cheap ones, no, not even just the cheap ones, but just so many pregnancy tests. Yeah, I took a lot of pregnancy tests. You just start to get what they call line eyes. And you just start to, like, envision these lines on every test that could possibly be there. Like, do I see a line? Do you see a line? Is there possibly a line here? And so I thought I was tripping. So I called my husband in the bathroom, like, babe, do you see another line? And he was like, yeah. Like, he says it so casually. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's right there, Taryn. Like, you don't see that? And the way he said it, I was like, babe, you know what this is, right? He's like, it's an ovulation test, Taryn. Like, he looked at me crazy, like, why are you asking me these ridiculous questions? I'm just like, babe, this ain't an ovulation test. Like, this is not an ovulation test. And he's like, what are you talking about? What is it then? I'm like, babe, this is a pregnancy test. And he's like, what? And he starts to look closer. He's like, there's a line on here. I'm like, I know. So we both, like, low-key start freaking out. Not in a bad way, of course, but, like, we're just low-key like, there's another line. Now, mind y'all, this is a little backstory. A few months prior, I want to say, y'all, I'll be messing up dates. Don't. But a few months prior, I had, like I said, been taking these tests, and start to, like, get positives, but I'm like, wait, this is not positive. Like, I guess false positive. But the way I work, y'all, I'm very into my, you know, journey with Christ. I'm like, we're we're homies. So for me, it was more of a spiritual thing, like that I was getting false positives. And I just knew like God was telling me like, okay, saying like, you're going to get pregnant soon. Like, you're going to get pregnant soon. And I just, because yeah, it was 3 false positives in a row. Like 3 months in a row. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting. And it was disappointing, like in those 3 months to get those, like those false positives. But at the same time, I just felt like if you have a relationship with Jesus, like you have certain, like he talks to you certain ways. And for me, I have a knowing, like I have a knowing spirit. Like he don't necessarily verbally tell me things, which he's not very audible for everybody. And sometimes he is. Sometimes he is very audible for, you know, people. But how our relationship works is I just know things. How I know them, obviously it's the Holy Spirit just placing it upon my heart. But I just knew like, okay, Tanya, you're gonna get pregnant soon. How soon? Wasn't sure. Because soon to me may not necessarily be soon to somebody else. Just like I knew that at 26 years old, I would get married, because a few years prior to that, I just knew, like the Holy Spirit was like, okay, Taryn, you just know things, certain things. So that's why it's important to have a relationship with Jesus Christ, not just so he could tell you things, but so he could tell you things, you know, like prepare you. But anyway, that's a side note. We get those false positives. I have a feeling in my spirit like I'm gonna get pregnant soon, but then I kind of forget about it, because like I said, the month we decided to not try decided we wasn't gonna try no more, and we were done like putting all our focus on that, is the month I got pregnant. So he's looking at it, I'm looking at it, we're like geeked out. We're like, you pregnant? I'm like, I'm pregnant. Like we're just ecstatic about this, but like in a calm, we ain't trying to tell Bailey, because if we tell Bailey then everybody gonna know, kind of sort of way. And so I'm like, okay, if I take a second one, it's most likely not gonna necessarily be positive, because this was a faint line, y'all. This wasn't a very bright, potent line. It was very faint. So I was like, okay, not gonna take another one. Or maybe I did take another one. I think I did take another one. It was a very it was still very faint. So yeah, I want to say I took another one. It was pretty faint. One of the cheap ones, or maybe I took the first response. I don't really remember. Yeah, this was a long time ago. Like a long time ago. So, and yeah, it didn't come out like as, it was faint, but it wasn't as dark as the other faint line. So I'm like, okay, well, we gotta wait till morning, because you know you're supposed to take a pregnancy test at your first, use your first morning urine, because you've been asleep all that time. So of course the hormone like levels and everything in your body has time to, you know, collect. Like, okay, we'll take one in the morning and we'll see. Take one in the morning, it's another faint line on the first response, but it's obviously there. Like it's obviously there. Mind you, you guys, most women find out they're pregnant at like 5 or 6 weeks generally. That's because I want to say when I found out I was pregnant with Bailey, I was like 5 weeks. Yeah, this baby I found out at 3.5 weeks. So I was 3 weeks and 5 days when I found out. Or yeah, I want to say I was 3 weeks and 5 days. I was almost 4 weeks pregnant when I found out I was pregnant with her, which really I didn't know that was possible, to find out that early, like get a faint line that super early. Because when I got pregnant with Bailey, we weren't trying. Like literally we were not trying. I was low-key trying to plan my escape, but anyway, we weren't trying, y'all. And why I say it's funny, like divine the stories of how I found out I was pregnant, because like I just told y'all, my husband loves boxing, right? We went to go see Creed 3 the night I found out I was pregnant. Similarly, my ex-husband, we were at my parents' house watching, who was fighting? It was a pretty big fight. It was, I want to say, yeah, I almost said Ocho Cinco. Ocho Cinco is not a boxer. What is that guy's name? Mayweather. We went to see Mayweather and Pacquiao fight. We were at my parents' house. And at the time, you know, I was living in a different city, so it was about an hour drive. So we were at my parents' house, and we left. And I don't know why, for some reason, I was just like, I don't think I got my period. I just don't think I got my period. And I you know, I've been married both times, okay? So don't come for me. Been married both times. So I just kept pregnancy tests. I'm married. Kept pregnancy tests under the sink. So I had a pregnancy test under the sink. And I'm just like, I didn't say nothing to Bailey's dad. I just was like, all right, well, I don't think. This is before, I didn't track my period back then. Like, probably should have, but I didn't track back then. I didn't track my period back then, so I didn't even know period trackers existed, to be honest with you. And this was 2015. And maybe they didn't exist. I really don't know. Can't tell you. I didn't even know how to track a period back then. Like, yeah, I just knew you're supposed to get one every month. Y'all, the lack of education when it comes down to a woman's, you know, anatomy and what's supposed to happen every month in order to conceive and have children, it's not enough education. Because I've learned so much in my late 20s versus what I should have been taught. But we're not gonna go there. It's very similar because, and I've told this story before, I think I'm gonna try to link it either in the description box or somewhere up here somewhere, but the stories are just very similar. Like both times I find out that I'm pregnant is a day after we watch like a boxing, you know, Creed wasn't a real like boxer or whatever, but the boxing movie, and everybody was hyped about this movie. And I remember when Pacquiao and Mayweather fought, you know, that was a big deal. Why? I really don't know, because I don't know anything about boxing, to be honest with you. Like, my husband tells me everything. But it was a big deal back then. So to find out pregnant with both my daughters, 8 years? They'll be 8 years, but pretty much 7 years apart, on, you know, nights that boxing, I go see boxing. It's funny. Like, it's funny. I think God's sense of humor is, you gotta pay attention to it, because it's low-key funny. Like, it's divine, it's wonderful, but God also has a sense of humor. And that was, to me, his sense of humor. Like, you're pregnant, you watch boxing that night, you're pregnant. So I just think it's hilarious, and I love this story because obviously I love my kids, and because I'm gonna look back on this in like 30 years like, oh, that's how I found out I was pregnant with. I have a video about when I found out I was pregnant with Bailey. Oh, that's how I found out I was pregnant with Bailey, which I probably will never really forget. But anyway, so yeah, y'all, that is how me and my husband found out we were pregnant with baby number 2. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this brought some entertainment to y'all, maybe a little bit of knowledge, blessed you in some kind of way. You guys stay blessed, y'all stay encouraged, and y'all stay in the word, honey. Bye.